Let me make sure my Bluetooth is off. All right, guys. Let's do roll call. You guys know how I like to start this off. TGIF. Glad we made it to see another Friday. What's going on with y'all ugly motherfuckers? Guys, look, man. I got like a bunch of topics. It was another very interesting topic. I wanted to go over today, but I forgot it. But moving along, guys. The show must go on. I got to talk about, like I said, I try to provide content for, business owners, technicians, whether you maintenance, service, install. I mean, sales is self-explanatory because, like I said, if you do a good job and you can communicate what you're doing, what needs to be done to customers, I mean, the sale will take care of itself. So, like, once again, guys, I mentioned this in a bunch of videos. Having tactics or having some type of like written script in my head. I don't really. I treat every customer, like I said, the same, but I always treat things on a case-by-case basis, and I've been very transparent in regards to, like I said, my experience is good and bad, guys, because like I said, I learned way more from the things that didn't go right, and the customers that said no, I learned way more from them than I did from the customers that say yeah, because, and you guys can relate to this, whether it's HVAC or not. But like I said, you guys can relate, if everybody said yeah, or if everything went perfectly fine every single time, eventually, guys, us as human beings, we're going to get used to it. And if you get used to, like I said, everything going right, eventually, you're just going to assume that, I don't have to work as hard. If everything's going right, if it's not broke, why fix it? So now I'm just going to, take my foot off the gas pedal and gosh, in theory, that sounds good. But like I said, if you don't have, the yin and yang, the good and bad, I call this living in reality. If you don't have the yin and the yang, if you're not living in the fantasy world, then like I said, ultimately, long term, you're going to be in a much better predicament. But like I said, guys, with that being said, I don't want to waste any time. Like I said, once again, this topic is for business owners and also, like I said, technicians. The more information the better. But guys, I'm going to bring up my experiences. And once again, I started the company in 2016, actually Halloween, October 31st. That's when I filed for, I got the LLC, and I ended up filing for taxes, filing for state tax the following January. So our LLC birthday is 10/31/16. So guys, like I said, when I started off in the business, like I said, guys, there was a lot I didn't know. But like I said, guys, my excitement in regards to, like I said, me, I started a business off of what I love to do. So I never, regardless of the stress, regardless of, like I said, the long nights and early mornings, like I said, guys, what motivated me wasn't the business itself, but it was what I was doing in the business, which is HVAC, which is, like I said, guys, this isn't a chore. I mean, of course, there's things to complain about, whether it's, crazy customers you got to deal with, whether it's, getting to and from calls, whether it's parking, whether it's, like I said, it's already 95 degrees and someone called you. And guys, like I said, I can give you a bunch of different, dynamics you got to navigate through. But regardless of, like I said, guys, regardless of the negativity, you're, once again, guys, assuming, this is what you want to do. I don't know anyone that, like I said, someone put a gun to their head and make them stay in a trade for 80 years, but ultimately, guys, like I said, your love for, like I said, wanting to do this, you'll find a way to get through it, and like I said, we don't talk about perfect scenarios because, like I said, that doesn't exist. You always got to take the bad with the good. But like I said, guys, back in 2016, for you guys to just getting in here, let me look at the comments here. Soon you be at work. This is my work, homeboy. Death Bloom. Hey, Death Bloom, tell him. You know how it go. But guys, like I said, man, back in 2016, I was just, like I said, figuring things out. And guys, I'm going to be, once again, guys, I can only speak for myself. I don't speak subliminal. Like I said, guys, I can only tell you based on what worked for me and what didn't work for me. But like I said, guys, and like I said, I created the cardinal sin starting off. Like I said, I mean, as a technician, I told y'all, I wasn't comfortable with large transactions because, I never seen it growing up. So, I told y'all, when I first had my $1,000 maintenance agreement renewal, I'm talking back at that maintenance company I was at. I mean, this customer had 9 or 10 units. This is a big mansion in New Jersey, and the renewal was $1,000. And I looked at the renewal, I called my manager. I'm like, hey, is this a typo? Is this $100 or $1,000? He was like, no, it's $1,000. And I'm like, all right. And guys, I went back to my truck, make a long story short, and like, I think she ended up renewing because like she said she been with that company for a long time. But like I said, guys, I was kind of shaky with like saying like, yeah, man, the total for the renewal is like 1,000. Not like I said, guys, it is what it is. Like I'm telling you, just kind of like the dynamics, between like I said, I had to transition from, not seeing things like I said progressively to like being thrown in the woods. But like I said, guys, it all worked out. But transitioning back into starting a business, I started from a technician's background, guys. Like I said, I told y'all, if you didn't see the intro video, like I said, my love for like, satisfying customers is fixing things. It's not necessarily selling things. As long as I had the core competency, guys, like I said, I always told myself everything else will figure itself out. But like, as I got into the business, like I said, guys, like my biggest, thing I had to overcome, I'm not going to say selling, but like, guys, just to sum this up, like we can break this down into different, different topics. That can be a totally different GMC talks. But like my biggest, thing I had to learn, like, is how to sell in my own right. When I say sell in my own right, meaning, guys, like common sense, business has to, you got to sell in order to make money. If a customer doesn't choose to hire your business, like I say, you're not going to make any money. And like I said, assuming you guys are legit, you got to pay taxes. If nothing's coming out, but you're paying, more expenses than what you got coming in, then you're not going to be able to, keep the lights on. But guys, like I said, my mentality was like, you know what, man, I'm just going to, try my best to, like I said, stay on top of like just knowing about things. But I never knew that, like I said, you can know what you're doing, but if you can't communicate it, and like I said, win the job over, win the customer over, it doesn't really matter how much you know. And there's an old saying, I mean, it kind of applies, but it doesn't. There's an old saying to go, like, they don't really care about how much you know until they know how much you care or something like that. But like, the point is, guys, I had to distance what I was good at. I had to leave that, I had to separate that from like customer experience. And like I told y'all, like in multiple GNC talks, as far as with the customer experience, I mean, most of your experience is going to come at a disadvantage, whether, you're going to lose a bunch of jobs, or like I said, things may go wrong, but you're going to learn a lot. If you keep the right mentality, you're going to learn a lot. But like, going back to that dynamic, man, learning, my first call, I'm talking back in 2016, guys, I was doing home warranty jobs here and there, but it was like, we had our good mix of regular customers too. So it was always like a good mix. But once again, guys, in 2016 and 2017, my goal was to get my feet wet. If I had to drive from Philly to Atlantic City, and from Atlantic City, if you guys don't know, which is South Jersey, if I had to go from Philly to Atlantic City, from Atlantic City to Newark, that triangle, guys, that's like almost fucking 5 hours. And I was doing that multiple days. And like I said, I knew it was an expense, with, with gas and like I said, potential van breakdowns. But guys, like I said, I had to get the experience. That's the only way at the time I can get the experience, is by going further than, my hometown. And like I said, I had to make it do what it do. But, regardless of that, guys, like I said, I already knew repairs, I already knew install, I already knew maintenance and all that stuff. But like, that whole customer service dynamic, I seen what it looked like at bigger companies. I seen what it looked like at smaller companies. And once again, guys, like once I left that maintenance company that I eventually learned service at, I left that company and went to a smaller company to learn install. So guys, I say that to say this, I seen, the dynamic between, like I said, these $1,000 renewals, and I seen, like I said, the dichotomy between big companies charging $1,000 for XYZ versus smaller companies charging, $100 or whatever the case is. I seen both ends of the spectrum. So like, I'm very fortunate that, like I said, I didn't just stay at one company. I had the chance to see, what works and what doesn't work, depending on, like I said, the company's procedures. But guys, like I said, once I knew, enough to at least get started, like I started with, like I said, maintenances. I started with what I knew, but like eventually I realized that, installs are a very important part of a healthy HVAC company. Am I saying that, like I said, you can grow a business, by without doing installs? You probably can. Depends on, like, say, your line of work, and like I said, I'm talking residential, industrial, commercial. Guys, there's a million and one ways up a cliff. So like, there's no one certain way of doing everything. There's values and principles and all that, but how your path looks is going to be totally different than someone else, even if you guys have the exact same goal. But guys, like I said, back to what I was saying here, like, I mean, I started with what I knew with maintenance and service. Like, that was easy. That was second nature to me. But like, when it came time to, like, recommend replacements, I was never the sales guy at, like I said, any other companies I work at. So like, I mean, I was the service tech, maintenance at one company, maintenance tech slash service tech. And once I learned service, I was there for like a couple months, and then I left to do install. But I was never like that guy at someone's house like selling equipment. The only thing I knew was, like I said, if you can fix it, give the customer a price, and like if you can't, then like I said, you tell them they got to replace it. But like, it took me really, that's all I knew to the extent of when I went into business, regardless of sales. I didn't take any sales classes or anything like that, but like as soon as I had my first, I remember this call like it was yesterday. This was a no AC call back in 2016. This guy, I think he found, I think a guy I used to work at the hospital, he referred him over to us because he knew that I'll start my own company. And the guy it was an OAC call, and he said that the outside unit wasn't turning on, and the air was blowing warm in the house. So I get there, and like I said, guys, the compressor short is dead. I like to the touch, the compressor was cold. I remember this call like it was yesterday because it was the first time, I was in a situation in which, like I said, this wasn't like a feasible repair. This guy had like a 40-year-old, straight AC condenser. He knew it was old, but he was like, tell you what, if you can look at it, if you can fix it, I'll pay whatever if you can fix it. And like, guys, I knew the compressor was shot. I threw in a hard start kit, new cap. The terminals are still good on the compressor, but guys, that whole condenser was like rusted to shit. And like, I knew that even if that compressor started, that unit was probably flat on refrigerant. So like, I kind of like knew that this would be like a snowball effect waiting to happen, just based on me trying to be fix-it-feelers, guys. Like, so I made a bunch of repairs that I probably never should have made, trying to help customers out, and it bit me in the ass. That's why, I say that to say this, guys. Sometimes you got to step back. I know you have good intentions of trying to help customers out, but if you think what you're going to do is going to present a bigger problem, that's something you got to communicate with the customer. But like, I knew that instinctively, guys. But like I said, I was trying to fix it, if anything, at that time. So I'm like, you know what? Damn, like, I don't even have a model and serial number like on this condenser. There's no legible data plate on the compressor. I'm like, everything is rusted to shit. So I'm like, I can't even guesstimate the damn tonnage or anything like that. So I'm like, you know what? At this point, I told myself, and this is my first time being in this scenario. I told myself, I'm like, you know what, man? All right, I know, like I said, my hardest of hearts, like I'm trying my best to try to, find this compressor, to give them a quote on the compressor, but I'm like, due to the age, where is that going to get this customer? Is it going to be more problems than solutions of trying to put a brand new compressor in like a 40-year-old rusted up condenser? And I didn't even put my gauges on to check the pressure, but I just knew that, like I said, it would probably be something else that this customer wasn't aware of that's probably going to present its head once we, if we can find that compressor. So like, guys, I was like, you know what? I went inside. Luckily, like I said, I was able to make out the tonnage of the evac coil on top of the furnace in the basement. And like, I'm like, you know what, man? At this point, I told myself, I'm like, look, I'm not going to win every single customer, but I always got to give myself a chance. I'm like, guys, like, so I had no sales procedures whatsoever. And like I said, guys, like, I end up not winning that job. But like I said, like, I actually forgot what the hell I told him. I just remember what the diagnosis was. I knew he had a bad compressor, but I'm like, I'm not even going to take a chance of gambling, putting in a random size compressor. Like, that's not, like I said, guys, we try to stand behind our work. And if I think, I'm pretty sure most of you guys do this, like, or let me rephrase this. I hope most of you guys do this. If you're trying to make a repair, if you're not sure if it's going to work, then like I said, something in your brain should register to like, don't make the repair, regardless of what the customer say. Because at the end of the day, guys, whatever you do, if it doesn't work, now you're reliable. You're going to be held liable the next day or in a couple hours tonight when right when you leave, the customer's going to call and say, hey, it's still doing the same thing. Like me, guys, I play scenarios in my head all the time. And like I said, like, this is part of experience. Like, and of course, like I said, if you're paying attention, if you have awareness, you should know based on what you've seen before, what will happen if you roll the dice with, like I said, equipment past a certain point. I'm not saying every 30-year-old AC unit can't be fixed, but like I said, guys, if you're in that extreme scenario, at that point, it's at that point you should bring the customer to the unit and like say, instead of trying to explain this to them like verbally, you just show them visually, like, hey, XYZ is doing this, it should be doing this, but it's not. Make sure they're aware. But like I said, I explained that to the guy, and like I told him at that point, guys, I didn't know what gross profit margins was, but I gave him a price, and he said he wanted to he have to look it up because like I said, he was hoping that it can get fixed. But like, that guy already knew that unit was like already blown to shit. But like I said, guys, I don't know what happened with that guy. Hopefully, you know, he got someone else to replace the unit or whatever happened. But guys, like, you know, I had to crash and burn a lot. And like, so I found out, you know, from my experiences of, when I say sales, it's really like converting, you know, broken heaters and broken AC units to, like, you know, at that point, like I said, if you're out there to try to fix it and you can't fix it, you know, that should be a no-brainer to, like I said, you know, if you can't give a customer a quote on, you know, potentially how much it will be to repair it, at least they'll have an idea. But like I said, you know, with that compressor, like I said, you could give him a generic price to replace a compressor, even if it's not recommended, so you can see, you know, the dichotomy between replacing a compressor and replacing the whole unit. But like, guys, like I said, right now, like that was one of like the hundreds of scenarios I've been in. And like I said, guys, every single time, and I mentioned this before, guys, every single time, you know, I didn't win a job, I used something from that job to help me the next time I'm in that scenario. And like, gosh, from that one particular scenario, I'm telling you, with that compressor guy, you know, from in 2016, I told myself, I'm like, look, next time I run across this, remember the scripts I told y'all I have now, everything accumulated from, like I say, experience, from me trying something, me saying something. If it works, okay. If it doesn't, okay, what made this not work? And like I told y'all, like from that compressor guy, I'm like, you know what, next time I'm coming prepared. I know I'm already geared towards fixing things. And like I said, what we fix, we warranty, we guarantee. That's not the problem. But if we can't fix something, you know, I don't want it to be any delay. I still want it to be robotic. I want it to be ABCs. And like I said, like from that, I mean, I think like a couple of weeks later, that's when I built out a price book. But like I said, prices, I'm talking with equipment, coils, compressors. And like I said, guys, like that was before we had a CRM. I had to use Microsoft Word. And like I said, guys, that shit took like a while. I started, you know, compressors and like the basic things. But like I said, guys, like, I mean, that's the fun in, like I said, running the business, guys. Like, you know, you can't always think that, like, say, everything's going to be simple. Like, you got to crash and burn. But, like, I mean, the shit I'm telling y'all, like, I don't know if everybody will survive it. But, like I said, guys, like, I mean, if you're meant, I mean, like I said, I don't know your ambitions or, like I said, what your end goal with this shit is. But, like I said, guys, like, if you stay around it long enough and you have the right mentality, you're going to get a bunch of answers and you're going to get a bunch of different experiences that's only going to help you out. You know, like, that's how I tell y'all, like, you got to be very careful with how you talk about yourself and how you think about situations. Because like I said, like if I had a negative mentality from 2016, I don't think I would have stayed in this long enough to try to get better. I would have probably ended up blaming someone like, oh no, yeah, this customer is just cheap, he doesn't want to do it. No, was I prepared to actually do business with that customer? If the answer is no, then like I said, what the hell you think? I don't think any customer is going to say yeah if they're not sure what you're talking about, if they're not confident that you can solve the issue, guys. And I'm telling you, I've been in this scenario. I'm talking on the losing end, like me not being prepared. I told y'all, like shit, how we got our standard operating procedures. That came from a customer telling us that he's not sure if we're going to be in business. That was in 2016 as well. Like, it was a bunch of things, guys. Like I said, your experiences may be different. You know, maybe you have someone else that you can draw experiences from before you start the business. But like I said, ultimately, guys, regardless of how much you know, you're gonna have to step on that stage and you got to figure it out. You know, no one else is going to be able to hold your hand and get you through the adversities, especially due to the customer service aspect. You got to be in that scenario to learn it, you know? So like, but guys, like I said, fast forward, man, like one of the biggest things, you know, and I didn't sum this up yet, guys, because like I said, I'm a little long-winded, forgive me for that. But guys, to sum this up, man, like I had to tackle like sales. Like when I say sales, I had to understand how to convert repairs to replacements if need be. You know, repairs are great, you know, if the repair is feasible, if it can get done, if you can find, like I said, the correct parts for it, XYZ, and most importantly, if you can warranty it, that's great. But if you can't, then you need to have another system to convert that customer from repair to replacement. But like I said, guys, and I'm gonna say this is gonna get into the topic of the video here. Most of the time, guys, like I said, and I try to be as realistic as I can. Most of the time, you know, and I'm saying like, especially now versus like 10 years ago when I started the business, like now, guys, like let's say for instance, if I'm on a no heat call right now, we're getting into the AC season. So like, let's say if I'm on a no AC call and like the customer has a leak and I do a leak check and like now the customer has a hole inside the evac coil. And let's say this is a 410A coil. This is a not older but not newer. This is like a 11-year-old evac coil. And like I give a customer, like let's say for easy numbers here, I give the customer a quote for $1,000 to replace the evac coil. Now, guys, like I said, you know, like And I'm gonna get into, like I said, and like, so I'm giving y'all free game here. This is some shit that, like I said, somebody might charge y'all for, but like I said, I feel like this is gonna help someone out in the future if they got common sense. But like, let's say if I quoted $1,000, right? $1,000 to some people may be a lot of money, or some might be less. That doesn't matter. But the price, the point is, the cost of the new coil is $1,000. And let's say if you're out there and you tell the customer, hey, ma'am or sir, you got a leak in the evac coil. It's XYZ. It's $1,000 plus tax, $1,050, yada yada yada. If they hit you with, you know what? All right, tell you what. And I wasn't expecting to spend that much today. Tell you what, can I think about it? Could I, get back to you? Instantly, guys, like I said, that's called a follow-up. Like, if the customer said, no, I don't want to get it done, then at that point, your job is done. You told the customer what the issue is, and you walked the fuck away. But if the customer said they got to think about it, you don't force the action. Like I said, if they got to think about it, they probably telling you that for a reason. Probably because they got to find the money, or they got to figure out, 99% of the time, it's, if a customer says that, they're probably not prepared to spend that much money today, which is something you got to respect. It's easier to lose a customer than it is to gain a customer. And like I said, you guys can clip this and make sure you understand this. It is way easier to lose a customer than it is to win a customer. Meaning, you always got to assume that the job is in your hand, because the customer doesn't really feel like calling 10 companies out to look at the same problem. They already got you out there. So like I said, half the job is already done. You're already out there and you know what's going on. But if the customer tell you like, hey, oh man, how much is that? 10,000? How much is that? 20,000? I got to think about it. Give them time to think about it. Like I've seen this before, and I told y'all stories. And like I said, guys, everything I'm telling y'all, I heard this from a customer's mouth. This is not some business coach or some bullshit you seen online telling you that customers spending $100,000. No, I had multiple customers tell me like, yo, like I had full intentions on doing business with this guy. He's a cool guy, but like he got too pushy and it ended up turning me off. And I'm like, if this motherfucker, I'm talking like from the contract to the contract. I'm like, this motherfucker knew when to shut up and like just listen to what the customer is saying. If they need time to think about it, give them time to think about it. Say, hey, all right, we'll tell you what, I can follow up with you within a couple of days. Give them time to figure it out. They didn't say no, and like I said, guys, that's why you have to have active listening skills. Like, listen to what the customers say. Don't go into someone's house and start assuming that, you know what, I'm gonna read a script. I seen a script online, yada yada yada. And like I said, guys, and nowadays, guys, you gotta remember, like this AI shit is like messing up people's brains. Like, you're always gonna be doing business with a human being. Like, and like I said, if that customer had a fucked up day before you got there, it's probably not gonna be a pleasant experience. They're probably gonna have something else on their mind, and you can probably pick this up from nonverbal communication. Like, that's why I believe in not overcomplicating things, because like I said, guys, you never know what's on the customer's mind. And like I said, if you try to make things harder than what it needs to be, they're probably going to tell you they need to think about it and probably not call you back. I've been in that scenario too, guys. Like me being an information guy, if I didn't know how to smooth things out and simplify it, I could accidentally give a customer, paralysis by analysis. And like I said, imagine me being at a customer's house, perfect example. I'm on an OAC call, and like I said, they got a bad condenser fan motor. And yeah, and by the way, I'm telling them they got a bad condenser fan motor, and I'm telling them about the furnace and alarm set in the house. Like, for what? Is that relatable to the current issue? No. Let me first figure out why I'm here. I'm here because of the AC not working. Let me rectify the most immediate issue, getting them up and going, and then down the line, like I said, that's part of maintenance, But like I said, guys, I don't know how your operations are. Like I said, I've been in this for a long time, and I've seen a bunch of fucked up scenarios. I'm talking for me. Like I said, shit I tried, it didn't work out. And like I said, guys, like it took me a bunch of tries to figure out what works for me. And like, and here's the thing, guys, like I told someone this like a while ago, like he was like, this had to been a couple years ago. The guy was like, yo, like, half the stuff you talking about, man, they should pay for this. I'm like, guys, like I said, the shit I'm telling y'all, this ain't for everybody. And this is what I was telling the guy. He was like, yeah, like all the information you get, someone should pay. I don't really look at it like that, because like I said, guys, the shit I say, if you're smart enough, you can find everything I'm telling you on Google. But like, everything I'm telling you, that doesn't guarantee you're gonna make it. Like, I'm telling you what worked for me, but like, and this is, like I said, this is like I said, this is what puts me at ease. Like, because everything I'm telling y'all, it has a negative connotation to it that you're probably never gonna understand unless you already been in that scenario. Like, the sacrifices that comes with learning. Like, you can be a book nerd, and I mentioned this shit a bunch of times. This dynamic will never end. You can have a bunch of people that know exactly what to do, but don't know how to fix it. And like, if you don't have that balance of, like I said, of book, I call this book smart. You got to know, technicality stuff, but if you don't have the application with it too, I mean, what you're going to do? You're going to end up being, like I said, a narrator for a HVAC book or something like that. But like, guys, I'm telling you, like I said, I've seen it all, but like I said, My job is just to try to simplify it. And like I said, I told y'all multiple times, like I said, if this is just, if all this content is just to help one person, I mean, that's better than, like I said, you know, somebody standing in their head and just assuming that all this shit is like complicated. It's not really complicated, but guys, going back to not to go off on another tangent, but going back to the main point here, man, like one thing I had to learn, guys, I'm talking after I got, acclimated with, having a sales system, if you want to call it, let's call it a sales system. Once I knew how to convert, like say, repairs to replacement, I realized like, yo, like even if I go out on a 95-degree day, and I tell the customer they got to replace the unit, that doesn't mean they're going to say yes, instantly. Some customers need time, like I said, if a customer tell you, hey, all right, let me think about it, let me talk with the spouse about it, damn, I wasn't expecting to spend this much money. Listen to what they're saying. I wasn't expecting to spend this much money. What you should do is just have a follow-up system. And gosh, I didn't know what the fuck a follow-up was. I never did that, or I never heard anyone speak about that at any of my previous companies, because like I said, I was just a technician. I didn't know how the operations work. I knew what to say, but past a certain point, we always pass those jobs off to someone else to follow up, whether it be an office person or a salesperson. But like, guys, like I said, you being in the business, you wear a bunch of hats. And like I said, it's either sink or swim, And like, it's just, it's very binary. It's either you're going to make it work or you're not. And like I said, unfortunately, guys, you're not going to survive long enough to, like I said, keep making a bunch of mistakes without trying to self-correct and get better the next time. So like, that's why, like I said, you got to be able to moderate your thinking and your mental capabilities, like as a business owner. Because like I said, all the negativities that happen to you, I don't care about no one else. I'm saying specifically your situation, all the no's, all the, like I said, bad days you got, there's something you can learn from each and every one of those scenarios that can help you out in the future. When it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, I can't tell you, but like I said, when something like that happens again, it's a good feeling to know that you already been in that scenario before and you already seen how to come back from it, assuming you're trying to get better, But like I said, guys, like back to where I was in 2017, like once I got, past the point of, like I said, getting systems together, we lost a bunch of jobs and we lost a bunch of money by like, anytime a customer say, yeah, like, let me think about it, I just wait for them. And like, guys, how I thought in 2017 is way different than how I'm thinking now, almost 10 years later. Like, I'm thinking of a customer in 2017, I'm thinking, yo, like, if I'm on an OAC call and the customer tells me they got to think about it, I'll just wait for them to call me back. And like I said, guys, like how I think about things, like I said, now is totally different because like I got more perspective and more experience. But like in 2017, I put myself in the customer's shoes and I'm like, you know what? I don't like pestering customers. Like if someone needs us, they can just always call us back. And like, I never really understood, like if a customer says, I need time to think about it, I'm not saying like try to overly close it in person, but like I would, and now, like I said, now is just common sense to follow up in a couple of days. Assuming you did your due diligence, you provided options, you listened to what the customer wanted, and you provided options based on the conversation. I mean, at that point, like I said, if a customer had a different opinion, or like said, hey, instead of XYZ, can you do ABC, yada, yada, that should be, like I said, what should be discussed, during the follow-up. But the point is, guys, like, and like I said, all this stuff should be basic knowledge. Like I said, if you guys are at a reputable company, I mean, following up is just kind of like it's part of the closing the job. But like, guys, like I said, in 2017, like we lost a bunch of. When I say lost, like I said, we just never followed up. And like I said, I don't know how the fuck we survived. Like I said, not having a follow-up system. Like some customers did call us back, but like I said, like we lost out on a bunch from not like following up to see if like, hey, like 2 or 3 days later or 3 or 4 days later, hey, I'm following up from like, XYZ appointment you had on Tuesday for the AC, anything else we can help you with, yada, yada, yada. Like, guys, that wasn't in my dictionary, in my mental dictionary. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna wait till they call back. But like, as I got, a couple years in, guys, now I realize like a customer really doesn't care that much about HVAC. Like, you're the only person, like someone mentioned this a while ago, guys, no one's gonna care as much as you do, but like from a customer standpoint, they're not, I mean, like I said, you gotta assume that everybody got a million and one things on their mind. No customer, as soon as you leave, is just gonna only focus on, that sales appointment. They got kids, they got jobs, they got businesses, they got whatever they got to deal with. So like, guys, most of the time, you'll be surprised. Some customers do forget some things. And like I said, you're probably not gonna be the only company that they speak to about this. What if they got 2 or 3 other estimates or whatever the case is? So like, always, like I said, it's nothing wrong with following up in a few days, especially, like I said, if that's where you left off at. if the customer told you they needed a few days, you know, I always give them, like I said, not one day, give them a couple days. Like I said, you know, me personally, I don't rush, like I said, customers into making decisions, because like I said, if they needed more time, like I said, figure out how to move the money around, or they needed time to research model and serial numbers, give them time to do that. Because if you rush them, they're going to say no. I know I'll say no. If I'm at a mechanic, you know, I'm at the mechanic getting the oil change done, if you know, then like that, guys, like, you know, shout out to Jiffy Lube. Like I said, I use the guys over in PA. They're good guys. But like, there was another one I went to in Jersey. You know, every time I go there, this motherfucker try to sell me an air filter. And like, at that point, guys, I always say, nah, I'm good. But then he hits me back again, like, hey, you sure you don't want to? This thing is dirty. I'm like, bro, nah, I'm good. I'll pass on that. Just write it down for next time. Then the motherfucker asked me a third time. I'm like, bro, come on. You gonna do it for free? He was like, nah. Then I'm like, put the shit back in. Put that shit back in the truck. You know, like, guys, like I said, I mean, I'm an asshole, but like I said, I'm a respectable asshole. So like, I know he's out there to try to like upsell shit while doing the oil change. But like, guys, if I say no once, I'll say it respectfully. But like, if like I said, if somebody pushes the you know, if they keep pushing, like I said, the topic, man, it's gonna get to a point where I'm just gonna get pissed off. And like, I know a lot of customers think like that too. Like, yo, like, you know, like, I already told them no. I told them I got to think about it. Like, what's the point of like doing this? You get what I'm saying, guys? Like, I don't think it has something to do with HVAC. I just think it's like, you know, once again, that customer service standpoint, like the human dynamic aspect of it. Like, yo, like, you got to listen to people most of the time, guys. And like, it took me a while to understand this. You know, like, assuming you guys are not going to like sales classes or anything like that. Once you listen to customers, like I said, like, most of the time you're going to get the answers you're looking for. Like, and I'm not talking these nonchalant customers, guys. Like, nonchalant customers, like I said, it's a little different to get, like I said, reactions and things out of them. But like, you know, like I said, guys, assuming, you know, you keep the main thing. Like I said, you know, if they're there, I'm talking if you're recommending a replacement, like, or if you're doing a estimate, you know, for a new heater, a new AC, like, if you get, you know, specific information from them, like I said, once again, this is specific to your you know, company procedures. If you get the information you need out from them as far as what they're looking for, XYZ, all that other stuff, I mean, ultimately your option should be something that the customer is interested in, because it's based on what they told you they wanted, you know. But like, if they don't tell you anything, it'll be hard to like put together an option, you know. That's why, like, that's the same thing as a customer telling me, hey, like, what's the going price for a AC? All right, well, sir, what's the tonnage? What's the BTUs? What's the efficiency? You know, you got good, better, and best. Like, it's not what it, you know, I need more specifics. You know, the going price can be between, you know, like I said, I hate to say it, the going price can be between $1,000 and $20,000. We don't know what you're looking for. Like, you get what I'm saying? That's where, you know, not to sound like an asshole about it, but that's where it can get kind of like, you know, you need more information. And that's why, like, you know, and I learned this, like I said, once again, 2016, 2017, you know, giving customers, like I said, like, you want to get as much information as you can so you can help the customer out. But like, if you give customers like random information, if it's not like, you know, if it's not specific to something they really want, then like, you really gonna waste your time and you're gonna waste the customer's time. Like, and I tell you, prime example, guys, I made almost all these mistakes at one point or another. Like, imagine, like I said, a customer telling me straight up, like, yo, I don't want to break the bank, I'm just looking for something economical. And then I go out there thinking that, like I said, every customer is the same. All right, well, tell you what, man, sir, I got a 20 SEER communicating 25 SEER Linux heat pump. 99% of the time, guys, you know, like I said, high efficiency is going to be more than standard. So like, I know right now with 13.2, the SEER is going up a little bit, but like, if the customer told me that they're looking for something economical, even if, like I said, I wanted to recommend a higher brand, I should give them the contrast between, like I said, economical and premium. So like, that's why options, giving the customer more than one option so they can compare, is always better than just giving them one price. Because like, if I just gave that customer one price, she doesn't know if we offer something high or low. And like, now I gotta wait for that customer to ask me, like, hey, tell you what, this price for 12, this price for 15,000, is this high SEER, is this high, low? And like, based on what the customer told me, I know what range she was looking for. But like I said, guys, that's some next level shit. But like I said, I mean, you're gonna get this information from Crashing and Burning. Like I said, you know, like, even if a customer tell you why they didn't choose your business, it's not really hard to kind of like discern what makes people not buy. Because like I said, people don't buy for a multitude of reasons. And like I said, most of the time, you're not really gonna get that answer. I don't care if, like I said, if you been on an estimate today and like, you know, you go out next week, I mean, you call them back next week because you didn't hear from them, and like, they say, yeah, we just went with another company, you know, we just felt like it was yada yada. like I said, like you take that, guys. You use that information to get better. You don't take it personal. Once again, guys, it's the customer's decision if they want to do business with you or not. I don't care, you know, if you come in 24 karat solid gold trucks looking like XYZ, guys. If a customer don't want to says no, then like I said, you got to respect their opinion. You can only make matters worse by trying to alter answers or try to, like, you know, that shit doesn't make any sense, and that's gonna piss a lot of people off. I'm telling you, like, I've seen it before, and I mean, it's kind of hilarious. Like, you look on videos, you know, I think I forgot what videos these are. Like I said, I mean, was it HVAC scams? I think this happened over in another country. I don't know if it was Canada, but like I said, this guy, I mean, they were scamming the shit out of customers, guys. This guy, I forgot what he was doing. I think they was doing door-to-door sales, and like they was trying to sell customers like HVAC through door-to-door sales. But this fucking idiot, what they was doing was they had these fake programs from the government. I'm talking in Canada or the UK, one of the two. But they had these fake programs that they were selling. They're not door to door. They get, like I said, an unassuming customer. Hey, yeah, we're selling maintenances or thermostats. As soon as they get you in the house, they get you to sign a contract. But most of the time, these contracts are like they have well hidden language, and like in the contract it says something like you owe like $1,000. Like, guys, this one lady had to pay like $36,000, and she didn't even fucking, like, guys, I'm telling you, like, like I said, scamming is at all-time high. That's why, like I said, guys, like, I always tell customers, you know, you got to double check and triple check. That's another reason why I don't assume people are going to say yes up front without doing their due diligence, because I know I wouldn't, especially unless I don't already have a history of doing business with you. I'm talking me as a consumer. Like, right now as a mechanic, you know, we go to AMCO for like mainly everything. Like, it's them and it's another mechanic that we use. Those are the only two that, like, say, you know, hey, blank card, I just dropped the vehicle off, just let me know when it's done. I don't really question shit because they already know how I roll, guys. Like, I base my time off efficiency. Like I said, I don't like to waste time. I ain't trying to be there all day. Like I said, you know, based on whatever's going on, like I said, whether I told y'all, I dropped 10,000 on the engine before, dropped 4,000, 3,500, 4,000, 4,500, multiple times on transmissions. Like, guys, I've seen my worst case scenarios. So, like, and like I said, it gets to a point where, like I said, I treat people how I want to be treated. Like I said, I don't really have to ask them a million questions. Like I said, it doesn't take much to know if someone's trustworthy. You know, I'm talking like as a consumer, like I said, someone stands behind their work, and like I said, once something goes wrong, you know, shit always goes wrong. You know, you can't avoid it, but like once something goes wrong, you know, are they standing behind their work, or does it take 2 weeks for you to reach out to them? You know, you get what I'm saying, guys? Like, every company can advertise perfection when things go right, but when something goes wrong, can you get in contact with them? You know, are they going to stand behind their work? Are they going to do what they say they're going to do? So, like, guys, that's all I'm saying. Like, this is the part of customer service that, you know, a lot of customers won't know until they already made the decision. I mean, basically when they pass the point of no return. You know, like, and I was in Delaware, guys, last month, and like this customer, it's crazy, guys. Like, it's a crazy world we living in. This customer said that her next door neighbor paid a freaking general contractor like $40,000 allegedly to, this is what the contract said, to like redo the bathroom, redo the basement, and like the fucking idiot took like, I think he took like almost half down, and like he, guys, I'm telling you, like, scamming is at all time high. Like, but how she found this guy, she didn't find him on, I don't think she found him on Google. I think he was doing some door-to-door shit, and like basically, like I said, he took half down of that 40. It was like 20,000 and some change, and like I said, he basically did like, you know, maybe 1 or 2% of the work. He just never came back. He kept delaying it. I'm gonna come back for this, or I gotta order this, and like, guys, like I said, I you know, these are paying customers. I don't get the idea of like ripping people off that's paying you, guys. Like, I don't get that ideal, man. Like, you know, like I said, I heard this from customers in Delaware and Philly. Like, most of the time, like I said, they get ripped off after paying someone, and I'm like, yo, like, you know, people that scared to, like I said, say no, or like they think they gotta take on more than what they can handle. I mean, a customer is not going to bite your head off for saying that, like, hey, like, we're booked up for right now. Like, if something opens, we'll let you know. Like, and like I said, if they're cool with you, most of the time they'll wait. You know, assuming it's like a non-emergency. Like, if they got to get something rerouted, you know. And guys, before I forget, man, our biggest residential job was like almost $40,000. This is in Jersey. And I put this on. We did a bunch of work here. And speaking of this customer, we got to go back out there. I think we got to go back out there in May. But this customer had. Guys, this is a large scale project. And speaking of following up, It took like almost 5 visits for us to close this job. This is like I said, once again, this is our current biggest residential job. I'm talking non-mini split. This customer had a steam boiler. So this is a large house. He had a steam boiler for the whole house heating, and he had a straight AC air handler in the basement, and he had a straight AC horizontal air handler and AC in the attic. And like he wanted guys, like this dude, I think he at that time he lived in New York. So I was only able to get out here like after 6 o'clock during the weekday, and I had to hit the turnpike, guys. Like it took a lot of legwork, man, for us to like, cause I had to walk everything through. Like he wanted to get done. He wanted to get the boilers. He wanted to get the radiators, get the boiler removed. He wanted to convert, since he already had gas, he had a gas steam boiler there, but he wanted to convert those air handlers to gas furnaces, and he wanted to move the condenser on the roof to down on the first floor next to the other condenser, and he wanted to add ductwork on the second and third floor, and he wanted to zone everything off. So like, guys, make a long story short, we had to convert from air handler to gas. We had to run the electric, run the gas line, relocate the condenser, guys, that it took like from start to finish, and we had to cut out the radiators, remove everything, and add the zone setup for the second and third floor. Everything was open, so like I said, this is a relatively sweet job, but like that was the easy part. But like the hardest part was like I had to like, timing wise wasn't easy. And like I said, guys, if this was me from like 2017, I would have been like, man, shit, this kind of like would have been this is a lot of weight to throw around here as far as like the intricacies. Like guys, like I said, one of my guys went out there initially, but like I said, the customer said that, hey, I just want someone to walk through every single aspect of the job. Like he basically in every single room in the house, because like I said, how it looks now, everything's done, but like how it was before, he kind of like I think he had an engineer there, but like he had an idea of how it was going to be, but he wanted, before he did anything, he wanted to see, like I said, pros and cons of what he wanted to do, how it would affect each and every room. Because like he had 2 newborn kids, he kind of like he didn't want sounds in certain rooms, so that's why he wanted like ductwork moved. And like, guys, it was a bunch of intricate things, but like I said, it took a while because like he couldn't get out there during the day because he was in New York. So like I had to like, I'm talking like I said, guys, and I wasn't sitting at home, like I was doing calls, but then I was like, shit, I gotta hit this turnpike, I gotta get out there by 6 because I know I'm gonna be out there for like a couple of hours, like I said, going over everything. But like I said, guys, we literally went over everything from the attic to the basement, making sure we got space in the breaker, like I said, ductwork size. Okay, you want the unit over here, okay, we'll take, like, guys, this is just hypothetical shit. Okay, if you want the unit over here, the vent furthest away may get the least amount of air, and we figure out what room he really didn't care on the first floor to have, the least amount of air in. And like, guys, like I said, that's what it takes as far as like with winning jobs past a certain size. Like that customer, I can tell you right now, like, and this is a cool customer, but like if we would have put in half the effort as far as like following up, I don't think he would have. I mean, like I said, guys, it is what it is. Like, but I'm telling you, like, following up is very, very important. But like, we would have took like half the time to like follow up, and we would have just, like I said, been lazy with the process. Like, I don't think he would have chose us for that job. But like, following up is a hidden gem, and this is what helped us, like I said, take our business to the next level. Because I told y'all, like I said, I never really cared much for following up. I just assumed that customers will always call us back. And some do, but like I said, guys, you can't always assume that. You always got to take the initiative. And like I said, based on, the nature, if you came out there or one of the other guys came out there I'm talking you guys to have your own shops. If you came out there or if you're, if one of the other guys came out there, you got to, like I said, you got to have some type of follow-up system, and you got to make sure that, like I said, you like I say, whoever came out there, they listened to what the customer said. Because like, I mean, I've been in that scenario too. Like I said, us having an early follow-up system, if the communication is choppy, if the customer said that, I'm looking for something economic, and whoever came out there quoted them something that's not economic, then like, that's probably going to reduce or if not kill your chances of winning that customer over, because the guy that came out quoted him something that the customer didn't even want. So like, that's what I'm saying, guys. Like the intricacies of listening, like I said, active listening. I know you're out there to, like I said, figure out, what the issue is. And once you know that the customer has to replace the system, I know, like I said, you have to, you got to compute things and figure it out. But like also listening to what the customer has to say, they're trying to help you kind of like win the job. That's what I'm telling y'all, guys. Like, if you don't learn nothing from this title, always remember, guys, the job is already in your hand. It's a lot easier to lose a customer than it is to actually win a customer. Because like I said, guys, like if you don't listen, most of the time, like I said, the customer's probably either going to tell you no, or they're going to tell you like, hey, I need time to think about it. But like if you didn't do your job of like I said listening and like I said presenting a proposal, meaning presenting options that's relative to what y'all talked about, then like I said, like that's gonna cut your chances down. And like and the name of the game, guys, like I said, not to gamify this shit, but it's all a game. Like this shit is a game, but you got to prepare to win. Like no one's running all these calls. I'm talking service calls or estimates. No one's running all these calls just for nothing. No, you want to win every single customer. Now, is that likely? Probably not. But like I said, guys, like fuck it. You got, like I said, the more estimates you go on, and I know, like I said, I don't care what size company you are. If you're rocking by yourself, I mean, you're dealing with some type of customer right now. But like, assuming it's a good. I mean, we gotta assume that everything's gonna be a good scenario. If it works out, great. But if it doesn't, try to take as much as you can from that scenario. Maybe it's something you did wrong. Maybe, like I said, you could have did a better presentation. So now, like I said, like I said, if you're trying to be in this long term, like I said, you're gonna have to improve. You can't do the same shit you did 5 years ago or 5 months ago and expect to have more than what you had before. That's the definition of insanity. You keep doing the same shit and now you're expecting something bigger. Nah. If anything, atrophy is going to kick in. Like I said, now what you did, what I did last year or last summer, maybe I gotta alter. I gotta change it. I gotta alter it a little bit, just to have, like I said, a more consistent and a higher, a higher reward or higher result. So like, guys, like I said, this shit is a never-ending game. Like I said, don't always think this end goal, and once you reach an end goal, everything stops. No, like life keeps going on. Like I said, but you have to have that progressive mind state, and don't just get caught up in the wins and losses only. Understand, like, you're going to be on the journey longer than you're going to be kind of like at the destination. Because like, this shit sounds crazy, guys, but it's true. Like I said, as soon as I don't care where you at in business, where you at, 100,000, 200,000, 250, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever the case is, guys, wherever you at, like I said, it's always going to be kind of like another progressive route you're going to have to take after reaching that particular goal. So like I'm telling you, like I said, guys, thinking long term, like I said, you're learning from this scenario. It's not like you're on an endless path. Like you're learning a bunch of values and principles, and you're also changing, how you're approaching things based on what you've seen. But like I said, you got to have fun with the process. That's what I always say. Have fun with the process, because like I said, guys, like, before you know it, if you do this the right way, you look up and like I said, like you're gonna start bugging the fuck out like I was. Like, damn, like shit, 10 years ago, like I laugh about the things I used to trip out about before. Like, guys, I'm telling you, that's just how experience works, man. Like I can't, this shit is crazy, man, because like I said, I can't put this into English language, but it's just like how experience works. It's just like some things, a lot, like I said, guys, now you can, this is the information era. You guys can get a lot of information, but having a bunch of information without you being in it like every day, there's only some things you can learn about HVAC from like being in it. And like, that's what I'm telling you, like you have to commit to, like I said, just being in this long term. Because like I'm telling you, like, I can't, like, and guys, and I spoke with someone about this the other week. I forgot to mention, like, young boy, I think he was getting into trade school in Philly. Philly got a bunch of HVAC trade schools too. I think one of them is Orleans, and there's a bunch of them. Not what the fuck is it called? Not Pinko. Pinko is not in Philly, but they got another one there. And like I was on a job the other day. He was like, yeah, I was thinking of getting into HVAC. Guys, like, I'm at the point where I keep it a being with everybody. Like, the shit I tell y'all is no different than what I tell someone on the street. Like, is it glitz and glamour, this shit? Yeah, it is. But like every good thing, like I said, I want y'all to burn this into the back of your fucking head. Every good thing that's tied to this trade has a negative connotation to it, guys. Like that 100,000, that 120,000 cash, that shit is gonna be tied to a bunch of nights where, like I said, or a bunch of weeks, a bunch of months. Shit is just not gonna go your way. You gotta find a way out of it. Like I said, there's no bitching and complaining past a certain point. Because like I said, guys, remember, this is what you chose to do. You're like, no one didn't put a gun in your head and tell you to start a business and stay in it. No, that's why, once again, guys, like 80% of HVAC companies fail within 2 years. Because like I said, they probably in it for the wrong reasons. They're not in it to, like I said, learn and make adjustments and hit and try again. Learn, make adjustments, and try again. I can't tell you how long that takes, but the only thing I can tell you is, like, this shit ain't for the faint of heart, like, and like I said, guys, like, and like, in a way, it's funny, I'm telling y'all this, like I said, I kind of like knew how I applied, like, the shit I'm telling y'all, I kind of like already seen that, like, in trade school growing up. I'm like, yo, like, shit, like, life ain't supposed to be easy. Like, if think about it, guys, like, this can either make you go in an upward direction, or you're going to start crashing down. Like, once you know like the reality of life, like yo, like everybody got their own problems. Don't really give a fuck about you like that. Like yo, you know what, man? Fuck it, man. If I gotta, you know, if I know this is not working out for me, working these part-time jobs, like fuck it, I'm just gonna go hard and like look. At the end of the day, like I said, you know, you got to get in that barbarian fucking mindset, that mind state, like yo, fuck it, man. Like you just gotta, like I said, you gotta go crazy. You know, you gotta put your whole life into this. And like I said, if it doesn't work out, it still works out because you probably learned something from what I just told you. And like I said, you apply it to something else, guys. But like that, everything I'm telling you, like this shit comes from like taking massive action. But you got to be in the right mind state. But like it's either, like I said, either it's gonna work out for you, or if it doesn't, you're gonna end up blaming someone. But like I said, guys, that blaming shit doesn't work. So like I don't believe in things not working out, because the people that blame someone, ultimately in the back of their mind, if you can read their subconscious mind, they know they had an opportunity. But like I said, you know, either you man up or woman up and know that you fucked up, and like I said, you learn from it. You know, like I said, a mistake doesn't mean shit. Like a mistake is nothing if you learn from it and you keep it moving. But like if you stay stuck, and this is the shit I'll be telling y'all about, like staying stuck in the past. If you stay stuck in the past, like let's say for instance, like prime example, like let's say my first job, I'm talking my first HVAC job, like I mean when I say HVAC, like it took me like 6 months out of school to get that first HVAC job because nobody was hiring. Let's say if I got that first HVAC job, and let's say, like I said, something, you know, shit happens every day. Let's say if they fired me and something happened. You know what I would have did, guys, and this is real shit. I would have took my ass right back to the drawing board. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I still got my notes. I'm gonna just try to find somewhere. I probably would end up driving further, guys. Like nothing was gonna stop. Like once you get to that mentality, guys, I don't know how the fuck you can lose, guys. Like, and the shit I'm telling y'all, you can apply this to anything else in your life. It's just like you keep playing until you win the fucking game, and then once you win, you just you repeat, you rinse, you know, recycle, you repeat. Now, like I said, how you win in business, you better win in your personal life too. One with your health, one with your money, like that. The principle never changed, but like you can't put this mentality into someone that kind of like this, that doesn't have anything that's going against them. Like, say, I'm talking like adversity, I'm talking negativity, like shit. I mean, I'm telling you guys, like, there's a bunch of, like I said, everything that's needed for you to make it is already happening right now. Like, if you got a deficit that you got to come back from, or if you got some shit that you don't want to go back to doing, or something you don't want to go back to feeling like, look, man, like you got to make a decision. And like I said, guys, like you got to, you know, no one's going to, and like I said, guys, like, I don't know why life is like this, but like I said, guys, I remember everything I'm telling y'all. I remember feeling like this, and like I said, once I realized, like, yo, like, you know, you can spaz out and blame people, but what the fuck is that getting you? Like, and then past a certain age, I ain't saying 30, I'm saying past, you know, 16, 17, I'm like, yo, like, me being upset, man, that these two part-time jobs ain't get me nowhere. What the fuck am I to do? Go home and cry to my mom? Nah, fuck that. I'm about to, like, it's time to man up. And like, whoever don't understand me, you just, you know, fuck it. It is what it is. But like, at the end of the day, guys, like, that's where, like I said, shit gets real. And like I said, I mean, you know, you can take this into another language. Everybody's facing it, but like I said, it's always going to be people that take that adversity and, like I said, they rise from it because they're taking accountability and they're growing from it. And there's going to be people that take the opposite approach. You know, they just start complaining. And like I said, I don't care about how you grew up. You know, now you're introduced to life. You know, you gotta make something of yourself. And like I said, you know, how it looks is, like I said, how that works for you, and how that looks, that's how that works for you, guys. It's nobody's business. Everybody got their own individual path, and like I mentioned this shit, guys. Like, it's enough out here for everybody, but like I said, will everybody tap into that? No, but like, you know, but you're gonna know about it because, like I said, most of these people online just bitching and complaining about, like I said, what's not working. Like, I mean, that sympathy shit, that shit works for a while, but like, you know, people don't really respect that, like, long term. You know, if the only thing they know you from is like begging and complaining when things don't work out. Like, you may get lucky, and like I said, somebody may give you, like, say, X, Y, Z, but like, once that shit happen again, like, they're gonna be like, yo, like, wasn't you that dude, you know, a couple months ago complaining that, like I said, you know, life ain't fair? And like I said, you know, man, get the fuck out of here. Nobody trying to hear that shit, man. And like I said, guys, I don't know what the fuck I know, guys. Like I said, no, I'm telling y'all, I'm not some fucking 80-year-old dude. I mean, eventually we're all gonna be old and mobile, but like I said, guys, like, everything I'm telling y'all is like, I'm telling you, man, this shit is like a fucking mind metamorphosis. It's just like the shit I thought about, man, growing up, man. It's just like, guys, I'm telling you, like, I'm gonna explain the trajectory from, like, I want to say like 15, 16 years old. Everybody got your part-time jobs, and in the back of your mind, like, everybody has an idea of how the world works before you really get into the world. I'm like, yo, I get my 2 part-time jobs, I'm good. Like, so I ain't got to worry about shit. As soon as I, like I said, got out of high school, got those 2 part-time jobs, I got what I thought I wanted, which was 2 part-time jobs. That shit wasn't worth nothing. Then, now I realize what taxes are. It's not about what you gross, it's what you net. It's not about how much you make. Oh, it's not how much. It's not about how much you earn. It's how much you walk away with, guys. The net profit, not the gross profit. But once I realized how that works, I'm like, yo, I'm putting way too much time into something that's not bearing any fruit. And like that's when I realized, like, it's more to life. I need some type of, post high school education. And like I said, guys, that shit didn't guarantee me anything. I knew that HVAC exists, but like, you still got to put the work in, man. Make no mistake about it, guys. Like I said, I like to working my ass off. That's just part of who I am. So it's like, I don't have to make this shit a goal. Like, I don't have to like talk about it every time. But like I said, guys, like I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't expect, rewards to just fall in my lap. I just took the initiative, like, yo, like I'm gonna make my life what I want it to be. You get what I'm saying? Like, and like I said, this is the funny part about it, guys. Like, if I would have had someone hold my hand from like birth and like say, you know what, here's what you need to do, that probably would have turned me into like someone that's passive or someone that grew up to be 18 and waiting for someone to tell me what to do. Like, and there's people out there like that now, guys. I don't know, what to tell them. Like I said, if you didn't go through any adversity, if someone helped you out your whole life, maybe like I said, the adversities that some people hit, feel at 16, you're gonna probably get that at a later age. But life will still hit you. Like you'll still hit the wall. But like I said, guys, like that intangible, like that innate ability to, like I said, know that, like I said, shit getting real, but you can't fold. You just have to understand, like, yo, like what is this moment trying to teach me right now? Like, all right, you just lost 10,000 or you just lost whatever the case is. What is this moment trying to teach me? All right, putting yourself in that scenario. Remember, like, no matter where you go, there you are. Like, damn, all right, what did I agree to that like, I probably never should agree to? All right, and like once you start thinking like that, guys, like, look, man, you're gonna automatically know what you shouldn't do again, or what you should do next time to avoid, X, Y, Z from happening. But like I said, guys, like you don't need to make, and I'm gonna encapsulate this by saying this, guys, like you don't need to make every single fucking mistake yourself. There's enough examples out here. I don't like, and this is what this goes back to the title a couple weeks ago. I mentioned is everything that's possible already happened. Like, and guys, for you people that think that everything that has happened hasn't happened, if you look up anything you're trying to do, I can guarantee you, with Chat GPT or Google, and like I said, I don't even know. I can only assume, like, whatever you're trying to do, if you look it up online, you can probably find some type of literature or something else on it. So like, and I want you guys to stay with me here with this concept. I say that to say this, guys, like, you're not going to live long enough to make every single mistake yourself, but like, we're in an information age, meaning regardless of, like I said, the scam shit that's going on, you got living examples of people fucking their lives up every day. And most of those people might have the same mentality as you, but like, instead of you trying everything yourself, before you take the jump, do your research online and know what to do and what not to do. And that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, I'm not going to say it's impossible to lose, but it's impossible to lose. Like, it's either you want, either you're going to put the work in and learn, or like I said, guys, there's really no other way around it. And when I say put the work in and learn, I'm not saying from you reaping the rewards. Most of the best moments in my life came with like negative attachments. Like I said, that, like I said, being in the drought for months, and like I said, that first hit that comes in, I mean, shit, that makes you almost forget it, but you don't forget it because, like I said, now what happens. Hypothetically speaking, like, let's say let's say hypothetically speaking, guys, I'm gonna put this into business terms before I go off on a tangent. Let's say if the weather stays at 60 degrees all summer, right? And like we don't have, I think this happened too a while back. Let's say like, what is it, April? Let's say April towards the end of this month, it usually heats up. But let's say May, June, July, August, the next 4 months, it stays at 60 degrees. And now phones dry, like there's no humidity, there's no hot weather. How it feels right now, today is a high of 70, I think, in PA, but it's like mild outside. Right now, if it stays like this all summer, of course, guys, for like I said, you guys like me that like to go outside, this is great weather, but like for business, it's not so good because there's no demand. There's no heat, no ACs running right now. But like, if that happens, guys, like, think about it. Someone's living out their worst case scenario every day. But like that, I'm just trying to give you guys like a real life worst case scenario and how you're supposed to deal with this. Like, if it's 4 months of like mild weather, instantly, guys, like I'm trained towards, like I said, figuring shit out and finding a way. So like instantly, guys, like, and I can't even, summer and summertime, it's gonna get hot as shit at some point. But like instantly, if I think about like, yo, like, damn, you know what? The schedule is slowed up. Damn, like, all right, now I know, you know what? If I'm not working today, it's something I can prepare myself to do. That I'm gonna be, it's something I can prepare myself for when the schedule picks up. You know what that means? All right, let me look at my SOPs. Let me look at the price book. Let me make sure everything's ready to go. Let me call my supply houses. Let me make sure, like I said, if I'm recommending equipment, let me make sure I know what's available. Guys, like there's like as a business owner, like it's impossible not to do nothing unless you want to do nothing. You get what I'm saying? Like, and like I said, guys, and I say that to say is once shit gets busy, everything I'm telling you goes out the window. Now you got to hit the road. Like, so you got to make it do what it do. But like I said, guys, like slow days or like slow seasons, whatever case is, it gives you time to, like I said, refine and work on being more efficient, like, but like I said, you got to be in a certain mentality to understand that. Like if you kind of got a loser's mentality or like some type of instant gratification mentality, like what you want to think that, every single day, a customer's going to call you saying that they want to spend $20,000. No, that shit sounds good, if you want to make a movie about it or some type of fantasy, but no, you got to work and so you got to have a follow-up system in place, like for, when they need time to think about it. Because if you can't follow up or, if you don't have a system to begin with in place, that can help you make repairs or, help customers understand repairs and help customers understand, replacement situations, then like, guys, I'm telling you, like, like I said, everything I'm telling y'all, I was very lucky to make it past, 2016 and 2017, like, cause like I said, everything would have went great for me. I'm talking like perfect. Let's say if I was in, a hot state that didn't have a winter, if I would have blasted 2016 and 2017 out the window, and like literally, guys, I tell you right now, this is the fucked up thing about it. Like, success is great, but like I said, you need failures too to try to to navigate and like I said, really self-correct. Because like if everything would have went perfect, there's no way in hell I would have cared enough about standard operating procedures. I wouldn't have cared about gross profit margin. I wouldn't care about following up. There's a bunch of shit I probably would have said, you know what, fuck it. If it's working, I'm not gonna fix it. And I know a bunch of companies, I ain't saying that P, I'm saying all over the world. A lot of companies, if something's working, they're not gonna change it. Because like I said, it's working. Why mess with it? But like, once again, guys, I started off on the opposite side of the spectrum. I started off crashing and burning, customers saying no, customers not understanding our maintenance agreement because I didn't explain it, blah, blah. Guys, like all this shit I'm telling you, like you can't get this all at once. You have to go through it and fully understand it. But, what you come up with, it's not up for another company to agree or disagree. You do what works for you, like that's the same thing as a brand new company now saying, you know what, I'm going to try to use what another company did that's been around for a while. No, what they're doing now is working because they've been around for a while. But like, if you try to like copy and paste it, I mean, have at it. But like, you still have to, make your tweaks. You still have to communicate it. Unfortunately, like I said, all this stuff doesn't sell itself. You have customers that know you that could call you, but at the same time, once again, it's easier to lose a customer than it is to get a customer. So like, if you, like I said, guys, if you don't understand that concept of customer service, you're going to be cruising for a bruising. And like, I hope you keep your helmet on, because like I said, you're going to get hit a lot, but you got to, like I said, that's going to grow your character and grow your mentality to make sure that, like I said, guys, like, you can survive. But like, do I think this business shit is hard? I mean, not really, but like I said, guys, it's all about the person's mentality, I don't know. If I had a different mentality, I don't think I would have made it out of trade school. So I can't, who am I to tell you that, like I said, something's hard if you're guaranteed to, like, if you're thinking long term, if you're not thinking like, if I don't make $1 million in like 2 years, it's a loss. Nah, like that's some other shit. But guys, I had to go off on a tangent, man. Let me drink some orange juice, man. Hold on. How long I've been on it for an hour. Guys, I be going off on a tangent, man. I'm telling y'all, one of these days I'm gonna have like a 10-hour GMC talks. What time is it? Hold on, guys. I'm getting all these telemarketer calls. But guys, I just want to get on here, man, talk with y'all. Like I said, just to encapsulate all this, what helped us out, like I said, damn near doubling, our gross profit margins. Like I said, guys, everything pretty much blew up in a good way. Like it definitely kind of like made everything simple once we knew how to follow up. And like I said, it started with me, guys. I had to change my mentality on, like I said, following up. Following up doesn't mean pestering customers or bothering them. Following up means you're going off the last thing, y'all talked about. If they need more time, give them time. Listen to the customer. If they need, they need another option that's economical, if they need another option that's like above a certain series, you give them that, And like I said, if they need time, get them a couple days to follow up. And like I said, once once you follow up with them, expect to, like I said, figure something out. Like I said, you want to do business with the customer. If you didn't want to do business, then I don't know why the fuck you can answer the phone. You know what I'm saying? But guys, with that being said, I can talk about this for days. Let me look at these last couple comments here before I let y'all go here. Mark Gonzalez, what's going on, man? But yeah, guys, I'm about to get up out of here. Keep rocking and rolling. Guys, listen to this though, real quick. I had like a few customers call me earlier this week when we had those two. I'm talking in PA. We had those two 80-degree days. I mean, at this point, guys, until the weather heats up a little bit, because we're still getting like freaking 38-degree overnight temps. We really don't start doing AC maintenance until like late April. But I mean, unless, like I said, we get, like I said, a consistent spike. I'm saying like the last 2 weeks of the month, we could have started sooner. But yeah, guys, another thing. I started this last year. I put one up earlier this week. Well, actually 2 days ago. 60-second service calls. Like if I'm in like I said, guys, most of the time I'll do long form videos, like if I have time to do it. But like if I'm on the go, or like I said, if the area that I'm working in is like loud, like how it was a couple days ago, I'll just do 60-second service calls. It's all the same shit, but like I said, guys, it's either going to be a shorts or it's still going to be either long form. But like I said, I want to make sure you guys understand these 60-second service calls is really not the norm. But like I said, if I'm in a noisy environment and I don't think you guys will be able to hear me, then like I said, it's probably gonna be on the 60-second service calls on the short. So, but either way, guys, be on the lookout. The content never ends, my boy. I'm gonna rock out. Keep rocking and rolling, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.